Hello everyone, welcome to Sunday's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian. I will be giving you some instructions and examples for speaking part 2 of IELTS, the cue card, today. Today's class is a sponsored chat only class that is requested by our sponsors. So when you're a sponsor on our YouTube channel, Academic English Help, you have a chance to request special classes and topics for the IELTS that you're having difficulty with, maybe some writing task 2 questions, in this case some part 2 speaking questions that was requested last week by one of our sponsors. So again, our materials do come from our websites at aehelp.com for academic IELTS, and for general IELTS, make sure to visit us at IELTShelp.com. Okay, both of these websites have lots and lots of help for you to increase your band scores on the IELTS exam. Make sure that you get the best score possible so you don't have to sit the exam again and pay another $280 or $300 US. Hi Baljeet, nice to see you join in. Today's class, Baljeet, was requested by Manisha. She sent us a couple of topics for the cue card for speaking part 2 that are a little bit different. So I will be discussing those and how to get a good score with these kinds of topics. All right, so for all of the other viewers out there, of course, you're welcome to watch this class. There will be lots of useful information for you. Since it is a speaking class, make sure you repeat me as much as possible. So practice your spoken English with me. I can't hear you, but I'd like to imagine that wherever you are in the world and wherever you're sitting, you are repeating the sentences that I say. If you're catching some new vocabulary, then you're writing that down and you're practicing it for the future so you increase your vocabulary and grammar for the IELTS. Okay, so again, if you haven't checked out our app, you can download it from the Google Play Store, Android devices, Academic IELTS Help. Lots of free materials there that you can try. Okay, and without further ado, let's take a quick look at the schedule here. So yesterday we did some listening practice. Today we're doing the sponsor chat class for cue card speaking part 2. And then we will not have class on Monday and Tuesday. I'll be back on the 4th with a writing task 1. And then on Thursday, there'll be a sponsor chat. You can check out the schedule on our channel at any time, or you can look at these videos. They also include the schedule for the week or for the next couple of weeks. Okay, so the first question we're looking at for part 2 is this one here. Hi, Mohammed. Nice to see you jump in as well. So, Baljeet, Mohammed, you're the first 2 in. Make sure you're interacting with me as much as possible. The chat is limited to sponsors, so make sure that you're communicating with me as much as possible so I can help you improve your scores. Okay, so this part 2 says, describe something which cannot be learnt at school. You should say what the skill is, why it cannot be learnt in school, why is it important, and how can it be learned, okay? All right, so again, you have 1 minute to prepare your notes. When you get this card, you get some note paper and a pencil. Now, in most cases, the cue card will be either a person, a place, an object, or an event. But in this case, it's a little bit different. You can see that it's a skill, and this is a question that was used in a previous IELTS exam, I believe. So that's why Manisha was requesting to have this question reviewed and what you should do with this question, okay? So let's talk about it a little bit. Now, when you look at the card, what is something you should do right away? So Baljeet, Mohammed, when you get this cue card, what should you do? What should be among your first steps? So you get the cue card, and then what's your step number 1? What should you do with this? So Mohammed, you're saying visualize. Absolutely, you want to visualize. So you want to think outside the box. You want to try to think of as many skills as possible in this case. So here, we're trying to think about a skill that's not learned in school. So step one is definitely visualize. You're always using your visualization throughout the exam. Sure. Now, when you visualize, you should see the skills that you do learn in school. So I learn math, biology, and so on in school. Okay. Now we'll get to visualizing what you don't see in school in 1 second here. What's your step two? Okay. What is another important step that you should take when you're looking at your cue card in that 1 minute? And this should happen very quickly in the first couple of seconds. So in the first few seconds, you're looking at your Part 2 speaking cue card. You really need to remember to do this, especially with this kind of a question, to make it much, much easier. Okay, what should you do? Mohammed, Baljeet, you have any idea of what a good step is with this question? Again, the question is asking you, describe something which cannot be learnt in school. So it's a tough one. It's easy to get lost in this question. It's easy to have difficulty answering this question, even if you're a native speaker, unless you take a couple of really important steps in the beginning. Any idea what I'm thinking of here? So what is something that you should do? I'll give you a hint. You should do this for writing task 2 as well. And I'm not thinking about paraphrasing the question. So what am I thinking about? If it's not paraphrasing the question, it's something similar. What, why, how, Mohammed? So using critical thinking, absolutely. You're going to apply that in a moment. But even before that, what should you do? What is it that you should do to help you with this question? Well, let me give you a little bit of a help here, okay? I'll help you out a little bit. So step 2 is identify the topic and the controlling idea. Okay, so what's the topic here? Okay, what is the topic of this question? And then what is the controlling idea? Okay, so what is the topic? What are we talking about? What's being discussed here? Very important for this kind of a question. Otherwise, you're definitely going to find it difficult to answer this. Okay, so what is the topic here? What is the topic? What are we talking about? Baljeet, Mohammed? Hopefully, we'll have Manisha jump in as well, since this was her question. So, what's the topic? The topic is a skill, Mohammed, so you're close. Yeah, it's a skill. We're talking about a skill. And the controlling idea is cannot be learned in school. Okay? Now, let's think about the object here as well. So let's think about school. Okay? If I were sitting the IELTS exam and I got this question, one of the first really important steps would be to think about that word school. And this is critical to giving a good answer here. So let's apply a little bit of critical thinking. What is school? In the context of this question. Okay? So in the context of this question, describe something which cannot be learned at school. What does the word school mean? What do you think the person who wrote this question means by school? Okay? What do you think, Baljeet? What is meant by the word school here? It's very important. Okay? Again, you have to define the world for your audience. So you have to make sure that your audience or the people who are listening to you have the same understanding as you in order to create a coherent, connected, complete answer here. So what is school? Mohammed, Baljeet, what do you think? in this context. You have to contextualize. This is a question where you have to contextualize what you say. And this can happen in Part 2 cue cards, that you need to give context to the ideas or the terms used in the question. So what do we mean by school here? There's no right or wrong answer here. Just throw it out. Throw it out there. What is school? Don't be shy. Okay, what is the meaning of school in this context? Let's see if you can figure that out. Give you a couple of more seconds here. All right, well, let's see if by the time I write it up, you have kind of the same idea as me. So school in this context, I believe, means public school from grades 1 to 12. Okay, so that's what school means, I think, for this question. Why is that important? So why is it important for me for this cue card question to identify that I have to give a definition to the word school? Public school from grades 1 to 12. Well, it makes sense, right? You have to use your logic. Again, girls and guys, logic in the IELTS exam is very, very important. It can really help you to increase your band scores for all sections of the IELTS. This is a very important concept for this question, because otherwise it becomes almost impossible to answer this question. The question again, so a little bit of repeat here, but the question again is, describe something which cannot be learned at school. Well, if school means any kind of school, so university, dance school, martial arts school, music school, then at the end of the day, if we list all of the different kinds of educational institutions or schools in the world, there's basically nothing that cannot be learned at school, okay? There's religious schools, so even religion is learned at school. So if you're thinking of schools as just all kinds of schools, then it becomes very frustrating and difficult to answer this question, because you can basically say, well, anything can be learned in school, or everything can be learned in school. There is a school for all kinds of human knowledge. So you have to restrict the definition of this question. In my opinion, if the IELTS people were a little bit more fair with this question, they should say, describe something which cannot be learned at public school. That would make life a little bit easier, but nobody's perfect, and in this case, you don't have that choice. It doesn't say public school, so you have to figure that out on your own, okay? You have to realize that this question needs to be limited in some way. So in this sense, when you realize that, okay, I have to tell the examiner here that I'm going to talk about a skill which cannot be learned in public school from grades 1 to 12, then that becomes much, much easier, okay? So then, once you've identified that important logic, okay, so make sure you use logic, okay, in the IELTS, all right? You have to apply your own logic. So once you've applied this logic that, okay, it has to be grades 1 to 12, then you can ask the right question, which is, what skills are not usually taught in 12 grades of public school? Okay. Now, as usual in the cue card part 2, when you're identifying, hi Arcana, nice to see you jump in. I'll catch you up here in a second, Arcana, on what we're doing. So, of course, just with like with every other question for the cue card, you need to think about what would 9 from 10 people answer to this question. Okay, so what would most people choose for this question? So again, a quick overview here, Arcana. The question we're dealing with is describe something which cannot be learned in school. I've just showed the viewers here that you need to go through the critical steps of visualizing, identify the topic and the controlling idea. We're talking about a skill, talking about something that cannot be learned in school. And then it's really important to apply logic in this case. So here I have to give a parameter to this idea of school, that it's basically grades 1 to 12 public school. Otherwise, everything can be learned in school because there's a school for all kinds of knowledge. So I have to show the examiner that I'm restricting my answer to this. Now I can think about what skills are not usually taught in the 12 grades of public school. So 9 out of 10 people, what do you think they would say? So if you ask 10 people, what are some skills that are not usually taught in 12 grades of public school that's important, right? Of course, if you read all of the questions on the cue card, which you should always do, there's a question here, why is it important? So you have to choose an important skill, not necessarily something like playing with a yo-yo, okay? What do you think most people would say? So Baljit, Arcana, Mohammed, what do you think most people might respond? So firefighting, Mohammed, yeah, I don't know if 9 out of 10 people would say that learning to put out a fire is one of the top skills that's not taught in 12 grades. It's not bad. You might be able to go with that, Mohammed, and give a good 2-minute response. But I think there are definitely some better answers. Okay, what are some others? So let's start listing them. Sure, you know, don't be shy. If that's the first one that comes to mind, write it down, but keep thinking, because you might think of some better skills that are usually not taught in grades 1 to 12. Okay? So again, girls and guys, all of you are watching. I see there's about 100 of you on right now. This is a sponsors chat only class, but you're welcome to watch the class, and I encourage you to repeat everything that I say. Hi, Nina. Nice to see you jump in. We're just doing some part 2 cue card speaking examples. You can see the questions in the stream description as well if you're just joining in, okay? So check out the stream description and you'll see we're dealing with the first one here. So my question again, don't worry about the cue card. My question again is, what are the main kinds of skills that are usually not taught from grade 1 to 12? That could be very important for life, okay? Think about that. There's some very, very good answers for this. I can think of at least 4 or 5. And you really need to think about outside the box. So you really need to think, okay, what are a lot of the skills that I use in my life? So visualize it. What are things that I do every day? What are skills that I use every day? And which one of these are skills that I never had a chance to learn in school, in public school? So think about specific examples as well as the global picture, okay? So Mohammed, that's a good one. Finance. It's very surprising but true that finance is often not taught to kids in grades 1 to 12. Some schools rarely will give classes for that, but not really. Arcana, self-defense, very good. Also, sometimes schools will do a little bit of self-defense class for students, but generally it's not something that's taught in school, okay? Anything else? Yeah, like martial arts, Arcana, so that would be a good one, okay? So finance, self-defense, those are probably some pretty good picks for answering this question. Any other ones that come to mind? One of the ones that comes to my mind, which I think is often missed in school, is healthy eating. Okay? So now we have a good list here, all right? We have firefighting. I probably wouldn't choose that one. It doesn't pop out as me as a popular answer. Finance, self-defense, and eating healthy or healthy eating. Okay? Career development, Nina, is possible as well. A lot of schools, especially in the West, do teach this now. It's called career development. But still, in many parts of the world, that's not a part of the grade 1 to 12, all right? Now, this is where it's up to you to define your response for that part 2 cue card, okay? So remember, the interviewer is like your grandpa. They don't know what you know. If I'm doing an IELTS interview with a student, from India, for example, and they tell me about career development and how it's not taught in public school in India, that's great. It doesn't matter that in my part of the world, in Canada, they do teach that. If you're telling me that that's not a skill that's taught in school in India, that's fine. That's a good answer. Okay, I'm not going to say, hey, that's wrong. Wait, we teach that. No, there's no argument. The IELTS interviewer doesn't argue with you if you have a good explanation. Okay. So let's choose one of these, all right? Which one would you like to choose? So Nina, Arcana, Mohammed, give me your choice between firefighting, finance, self-defense, healthy eating, and career development. Let's see if there's a popular choice, and then we'll go with that one for the answer, okay? And then that's the second question below there, so we'll leave that for now. Okay, what's your pick? I'll let you choose the response that you want to go with. Okay, Mohammed, you want to go with finance? Finance is probably a pretty good one. Nina, healthy eating. Arcana, you say yeah. I'm guessing you're sticking with finance, so you're probably backing up Mohammed's there. All right. Anybody else have a say? I think we had one other. Baljit, you were in there as well. Arcana, you're going with self-defense. Okay, you're each wanting to choose something different, which is fine. But let's go with finance for this one, okay? So let's choose finance, all right? We're going to choose finance to answer this. All right. So your 1 minute of planning time is up, and then your examiner says, okay, your 1 minute is up. Please begin speaking. So you're looking at the card, you know what you're going to do now. You're going to focus on finance and explain that finance is not something that can be learned at school. You need to identify the skill, you need to identify why it's not taught in school, and you need to identify why it's important and how it can be learned. So you can go step by step and make it very clear. What would be a good first sentence here? So how would I start my response? So if I've chosen finance, what is a good way to start off my speaking? Well, I might start by saying a crucial life skill that is not taught in public school from grades 1 to 12 is financial planning and management. Okay? So I'm starting off with this sentence, and I'm very careful to use the right first sentence, okay? This first sentence is basically like my thesis statement for task 2 writing. It really identifies my understanding of the question and where I'm going with it. So notice that right away I'm saying a crucial life skill. So I tell the examiner that I'm recognizing the questions on the card, and I know that it's an important skill that is not taught in public school. Right away, I give a deeper definition to school. So I'm showing the examiner and the listener, the audience, my parameters, basically my area of constraints, so that it's clear what I'm talking about. In fact, I go into quantitative description here from grades 1 to 12 is financial planning and management. So right away, I give my answer, I give my parameters, and I give the idea that I'm clear about the question. So just repeat after me. A crucial life skill that is not taught in public school from grades 1 to 12 is financial planning and management, okay? And with this card, I can basically go step by step. So what is the skill? Okay, right away, just get into what is the skill. So let's get into definition here, right? And if you have to keep looking at the question card, that's okay. If you keep looking at the cue card and looking at your notes, but you're speaking nice and fluent sentences in between, you'll get a very nice high score. So what is financial planning and management? Continue from here for me, please. Okay, So, Nina, Mohammed, Arcana, give me some info. What is financial planning, financial management? What do I mean by that? Let's define that. There's entire university courses, classes, degrees that are dedicated to what we're talking about here. So you could talk about just what is financial planning for an hour. So definitely you should be able to say a few sentences about what is financial planning. What does that actually mean? Okay? And hopefully by this time, by the time we're finished high school and we're starting to get ready for university, or especially our masters, we have a good idea of what financial planning is and what financial management is. So try to tell me about that. Imagine that you're trying to explain to a 15-year-old of what financial planning is. Now, Nina, try to use a statement instead of a question. So how to earn and spend money properly. It's very broad definition. I think you could give a little bit more information there. And you definitely want to say it as a statement, Nina, not as a question. So the skill of finance, right? Don't forget that we're talking about a skill. So the skill or ability of finance means that a person knows what they can do, or a person knows ways of earning and spending money. And you could probably say a little bit more, so I think that's just the beginning. The skill or ability of finance means that a person knows ways of earning and spending money so that what? Well, that's the interesting thing, right, is you have to have a skill here that's not learned in school, so you need to be able to talk about it. Arcana, saying to the examiner that most pupils are not aware of money, where it's coming from and how to spend it, that's okay. You're identifying the need, but again, remember what the question asks. So just go sentence by sentence, okay? What is this skill? So what is financial planning, okay? So the skill or ability of finance means that a person knows ways of earning and spending money wisely so that they avoid financial crisis or bankruptcy. Right? Okay. Is that enough? Have I said everything there is about financial planning and management? Not necessarily. Arcana, you're still identifying the difficulty or the need here, but that's not necessarily what this question is asking. This question is just simply asking you to define the skill, okay? So this means that when a person, or that a person who knows how to manage their money can generate greater and greater profit. They can do this through investments and by spending less. Okay? So you can keep describing this. Now you have 2 minutes, so you probably don't need too many details. Again, it's a huge topic. And you're right, Mohammed, you can give an example here, all right? For example, if a person learns to save their money in a high interest bank account, they can create wealth 10 or 20 years down the road. Okay, now I'm including some nice expressions here, down the road. I'm also including some specific quantitative language, 10 or 20 years down the road, okay? So again, so far, repeat after me. Do lots of repetition at home. Even if I repeat this 4 or 5 times, don't be shy. Keep repeating. Practice your speaking nice and loud. A crucial life skill that is not taught in public school from grades 1 to 12 is financial planning and management. The skill or ability of finance means that a person knows ways of earning and spending money wisely so that they avoid financial crisis or bankruptcy. This means that a person who knows how to manage their money can generate greater and greater profit. They can do this through investments and by spending less. For example, if a person learns to save their money in a high-interest bank account, they can create wealth 10 or 20 years down the road. All right, what should I do at this point? So, what should I do now? Well, as I've mentioned before, don't forget to look back at the card. So look back at the card, okay? Use your notes and the card, not just at the beginning of part 2, but throughout. So describe something which cannot be learned at school. Good, we figured that out. Finance, grade 1s to 12. What is the skill? It's finance. I described it in detail. What is finance? How does it work? What are the key elements of it? Why it cannot be learned at school? Good, so let's go to that question. Why is finance something that we cannot learn in school from grades 1 to 12? So let's go to that next question. Why? So why can it not be learned? Why can finance not usually be learned in school? Why is it usually not taught in school? Yeah, down the road arcana is an expression. It means later on. So why is finance a skill that's usually not taught in public schools? Why is it not talked about? Why is it not part of the regular curriculum? Okay. So that should be fairly straightforward. Again, visualize and think of specific examples, okay? So, Mohammed, you're saying learning this skill early will divert your concentration from academic studies. I don't know about that, okay? I'm not sure if that's the best reason. So think about the quality of your information. Arcana, why doesn't the curriculum include such skills? So, unfortunately, most public school or public school curriculum do not include the skill of money management because. Why? Yeah, I know it's changing weather out there and our lighting is a little bit off today, so I'm having to use natural light, but that's okay. I can brighten it up for you there, Arcana. So, so why is money management not taught to students? It's not necessarily, Mohammed, because children are overloaded with their studies. I mean, I wish I learned financial management in school. Arcana, good. Okay, use your logic, girls and guys. You really need to apply logic. So Arcana, you're saying that they haven't thought about that. Why haven't they thought about that? Why hasn't a 10-year-old thought about financial skills? Why not? Okay, so think what, why, how with everything. Think outside the box. Visualize it. Are you picturing? I'm hoping that you're picturing 10, 12, 13, 14-year-old girls and guys sitting in school. And can you imagine a teacher sitting there going, if you invest $10 that you get from your mother into a 7.5% compounding interest high savings account at the National Bank in bonds and stocks, then by the time you get to 27, the annual interest will accumulate too. So can you imagine a teacher giving that kind of a financial instruction to a 10-year-old? Yeah, so there you go, Mohammed. Now you're thinking the right way. So children haven't matured to be thinking a lot about money, right? So kids aren't too interested in how to make money and how to have financial planning for the future. That's not what where their head is at, right? Why not? So why aren't children overly excited and interested in learning about financial planning and how to make money for their future? What's the most logical reason behind it? I know I'm stuck up on this point and I'm spending a lot of time on it, but I'm really pushing you to think logically, because once you can break this logical thinking pattern and you can get into it, then you will do much better. You will speak much more fluently and have much better communication. So why aren't kids thinking about their future finances? Why does that change when you become 25, 26, 27 years old, especially once you graduate university? Okay? Once I tell you you're going to do one of these, you're going to go, oh yeah, of course. And of course that's what I need to say to the examiner, okay? So I really don't want students to be stuck in this very uncomfortable feeling of, why didn't I think about that? Okay, I'm so sad when I see students do that. Why didn't I think about that? So I'm trying to mold you, to shape you, so that you're able to think in these ways. Okay, Nina, what do you think? Why do kids not care too much about finance? Most kids. It's because they are usually not earning and spending money, right? You start worrying about finance when you earn and spend money, okay? That's when you start worrying about it, all right? So unfortunately, public school curriculums do not include the skill of managing money, because most children before adulthood are not interested in this skill. Simply, this is because kids in general do not generate or earn enough money to play the finance game, right? That would make the most sense, all right? Arcana, does that make sense? All right, is that clear? So you're not teaching children about money because they're not dealing with money, okay? In fact, kids are restricted to deal with money. Not so long ago, there was a young Chinese girl that was big in the news who made over $200,000 on the stock market, and they took it all away from her because it's illegal. You cannot play the stock markets if you're under 18. I felt horrible for her. Very smart, brilliant in mathematics. She invested people's money, made a whole bunch of money for a lot of people. She used an alias and pretended that she was older. She was able to open an online trading account, made a ton of money for herself. And when it was all discovered, guess what? They took all that money away because you cannot play the stock markets under the age of 18. Womp, womp, womp. All right? So kids are not even allowed into the finance game, all right? So that's the right answer. That's the most clear answer. And maybe now you're doing one of these. Oh, why didn't I think about that? Okay, of course. In fact, people under 18 are often restricted in the financial world, such as not being allowed to invest into stocks. Okay, so you don't want to get carried away. You have 2 minutes. And again, once you have the right type of thinking for Part 2 cue card, and once you're using your logic and visualization in a powerful way, you can really generate ideas quickly, and you can keep talking and talking. Then what you have to be careful about is to respect your 2-minute time limit and make sure that you're able to include answers to all of the questions on the card and not get carried away with just 1 or 2 questions, okay? So let's look back at the card. Again, remember, in that 2 minutes, you should look at that card 2 to 3 times to make sure that you're answering all the questions, okay? So many students, 19 out of 20 students, I've noticed, do not look at the cue card only in the 1-minute planning stage. That's not good. The examiner lets you have that cue card for the whole 3 minutes. They want you to look at that card to make sure that you're answering those questions. So let's look at that card. Why is it important? Okay, very easy to answer. Hi, Manisha. So you know these questions, Manisha, because you sent them to me. Okay, so if we have chosen a good answer, which is in this case financial planning, this one will be easy. So why is the skill of financial planning important? All right, lots of sponsors in here now, so you should be able to give me some good answers for this. Again, visualize, think about life, think about people, think about what happens when they have good financial planning. Think about what happens if they have bad financial planning. Why is this skill important? Okay, so Mohammed, you say for survival, sure. Let's try to be a little bit more clear. So nevertheless, financial management is a very important skill for survival in a money-driven world. Okay? Now, I know you might not know this expression. You go, hey, Adrian, that's great, but I don't have enough English to know to say money-driven world. You don't have to say money-driven world. You can just say, nevertheless, financial management is a very important skill for survival in a world where money is used everywhere or where money is important for everyone, okay? Yes, Manisha, the skill that we chose to talk about is financial management. So financial management is not something that's taught in schools, in public schools from grade 1 to 12. We defined here that, yes, that's right, Manisha, because we defined that in the question, school is referring to public school. If I have lots of money, does that make me happy? Okay, so I'm going to simplify my logic here, all right? Hi, Baljeet. Welcome back. Okay, so bear with me, girls and guys. Everything will be clear, so if you're just tagging in some of our sponsors now, then don't freak out that you're lost. You'll be clear here. So is money important for me to be happy in life? Do I need to have cash flow? Do I need to have money to be happy? Keep your logic super simple. If you're getting lost, if you're getting confused, the easiest way to become not confused is simplify your thoughts. Think simple, easy thoughts, okay? Is money important for happiness and success? Now, there's a funny saying. People say that money doesn't make you happy, and then there's other people who say, the people who say money doesn't make you happy, it's because they don't have money. I don't know who's right or wrong, but definitely we need to have some amount of money for our daily needs. And certainly if we are positive people, if we have positive attitudes and we have money, and we use that money for exciting experiences such as traveling, going to nice restaurants, treating our friends to a nice meal, then money can absolutely be a tool used to increase happiness, okay? So let's not lie to each other and say that that's not true, all right? So nevertheless, financial management is a very important skill for survival in a money-driven world. These days, the world economy is becoming very complex. Indeed, money does help people to be happy. When they have lots of money, they can go on vacations, buy fancy objects or clothes and go to nice restaurants. This is very difficult to do or difficult to maintain if a person is not knowledgeable of how to manage their money. Okay? So that's enough. So why is this skill important? Well, we basically just explained that for success, for happiness, to be able to buy nice amenities or nice clothes, nice objects, it's important, okay? So now we go back and make sure we answer that last question. So the last question is, how can it be learned? So how can financial management be learned? Manisha, don't worry about the details. Don't get lost in the details. Focus on the big picture here. So we have one more question to answer. How can I learn it? How can I learn about financial management? I'm sure you can answer this for me. So if you think about this, I'm sure you have some really good ideas of where I can get this information about managing money. Okay? So what do you think? Give me some answers. Arcana, Mohammed, Baljit, Manisha, Nina. Give me some answers here. How can I learn about financial management? And this is probably something valuable for all the viewers here of, hey, where can I learn this? How can I understand how to manage my money? From parents? Manisha, maybe. I'm actually surprised how many parents do not know good financial management as well. So don't just rely on your parents. That would not be my first go-to, especially because finance changes with each generation. So the financial world that we live in today is very different than what our parents grew up in. So it's changing, it's adapting. Nina, it can be learned by making mistakes. Yeah, but those are painful mistakes. They generally mean losing money. So it's not ideal. I would not want to learn financial management through mistakes. That would be, I have learned financial management through mistakes, but it's not my favorite way of learning financial management, that's for sure. What are some other ways that we can learn it? So for making financial decisions, sure, Manisha, that's right as well. But again, visualize. What's the easiest way? If I want to understand how to play the stock market, what are you going to do? Okay? So Arcana, Mohammed, if you want to learn how to play the stock market and where to invest your money and where to spend your money, what will you do? What will be your step number one? So again, think of your specific examples, all right? Good, Mohammed. Very good. Learn it from the internet, the almighty Google. We even say Google it, right? So Googling financial management, financial planning, the basics, step by step, I'm sure you can learn a lot about it. Nina says, read books about it. Absolutely. They're not exciting and fun books. They're not going to be Harry Potter or Lord of the Ring books. They're going to be probably quite dry and boring, but if you keep the goal in mind, they will be good. So reading books from the internet or learning about it in college or university, there's definitely some classes there for business management and so on. Those are the top ways. So if you ask 10 people, how can I learn about financial management? The most popular answers will be learn about it in post-secondary education like college, read a book, search the internet. Okay? So fortunately, there are many ways a person can learn good finance skills. Some of the most obvious avenues are the internet, books, and post-secondary education like a business diploma. In fact, when I got out of high school, I immediately bought 2 books on money management basics. And this way, I was able to use my student loans very wisely. Okay, not only did I pay back my loans, by the time I graduated my bachelor's, but I also made some money. Okay, playing stocks, just make it up. Okay, so good. Now I answered all the questions, and I probably have plenty of information for the 2 minutes. So repeat after me, girls and guys. So again, let's look at the question. So the question says, describe something which cannot be learnt at school. What the skill is, why it cannot be learnt in school, why is it important, how it can be learned. My first step, visualizing, identifying the topic, the controlling idea, using my logic, and realizing that I have to confine or restrict school to public school. Otherwise, everything can be learned in school because there are schools for all kinds of knowledge. So in this case, I have to be clear that in this question, what is school? According to me, school is public school from grade 1 to 12. I need to make sure that I include that in my first sentence. Then I think about, hey, if I ask 10 people, what are some of the important skills that are not taught in grades 1 to 12, what would they say? And then I write down some couple of ideas. First one that comes to mind is firefighting, but then I think of finance, self-defense, healthy eating, career development. Okay, I choose one that I think is a good answer, easy to talk about, and I stick with it. If you know a little bit about finance, choose that one. If you know more about a healthy diet, choose that one. Okay, in our case, we chose finance. So then once we've identified finance, what are we doing? We're answering the questions in detail. We're giving some examples. We're looking at the card when we need to for the questions. We're looking at our notes, and we're going step by step. Girls, guys, repeat after me. This is a good high-level answer for these questions. A crucial life skill that is not taught in public school from grades 1 to 12 is financial planning and management. The skill or ability of finance means that a person knows ways of earning and spending money wisely so that they avoid financial crisis or bankruptcy. This means that a person who knows how to manage their money can generate greater and greater profit. They can do this through investments, by spending less. For example, if a person learns to save their money in a high-interest saving account, they can create wealth 10 or 20 years down the road. Unfortunately, public schools' curriculum do not include the skill of managing money because most children before adulthood are not interested in this skill. Simply, this is because kids in general do not generate or earn enough money to play the finance game. In fact, people under 18 are often restricted in the financial world, such as not being allowed to invest into stocks. Nevertheless, financial management is a very important skill for survival in a money-driven world. These days, the world economy is becoming very complex. Indeed, money does help people to be happy. When they have lots of money, they can go on vacation, buy fancy clothes, go to nice restaurants. And this is difficult to maintain if a person does not know a lot about how to manage their money. Fortunately, there are many ways a person can learn these skills. Some of the most obvious avenues are the internet, books, post-secondary education like a business diploma. In fact, when I got out of high school, I immediately bought 2 books on money management basics, and this way I was able to use my student loans wisely. Not only did I pay back my loans by the time I graduated my bachelor's, but I also made money playing stocks. Okay? Notice the use of correlative conjunctions in the end there, all right? So that would be a very high level answer. You'd get full scores. You answered all the questions. You went into details. You threw a couple of nice examples in there to make it clear for the examiner. You showed them that school in your world here for this question means grades 1 to 12. You can't just say, well, I don't know how to answer this question because everything can be learned in schools. If I want to learn to dance, I go to dance school. If I want to learn how to do boxing, I go to... No, you have to constrain. You have to control, okay? So, Manisha, thank you for that question. That was a very good question, Manisha. Again, the key is don't panic. Use your logic. Go through the proper steps of visualizing, identifying topics, controlling ideas, using your logic, okay? All right, so girls and guys, here we have another part 2 question. It's talk about an unusual meal. You should say, when did you eat it? Where did you eat it? With whom you had the meal. Okay, so I'm going to let you do this one. Manisha, this was your second question. I'm going to let you do this one at home. You can send it to me. Thanks, Mohammed. Thanks, Arcana Manisha, for appreciating that work. So you can send me this one. So try to write down your response. And all of the viewers, I can see that there are a lot of students watching this right now. You can do the same, okay? You don't have to be a sponsor for that. You can do this as well. You can give me your answer or write down the answer. Send it to me by email, and I'll let you know if I think you're on the right track or not. As you do it, visualize, identify topic, controlling idea, okay? And then what I'll do, Manisha, don't panic. So here you see that on the 4th, we'll have a writing task 1 class, and then on the 5th of July, we'll do another sponsor chat only class. And what I'll do is I'll put this part 2 cue card question for the 5th of July. So we'll go over it in July. Okay, Manisha? Yeah, I am changing the times up a little bit, so make sure you take note of that, okay? So pay attention to the schedule. I sent this to you girls and guys, the sponsors, in your sponsor comments as well, so you can check the class schedules there. And sponsors, please recommend some topics for me. So if you have some questions about specific questions and listening or reading, ask me, and then I'll create a class focusing on those skills, okay? So if you're a sponsor, make sure that you're sending me that. Also, if you don't have the exam books yet, send me an email so I can send you the PDFs or give you access to the PDFs for the full exams, okay? All right, any questions? Manisha, Arcana, Mohammed, Nina, before we wrap up? What do you mean by listening maps, Manisha? I'm not sure. Like, are you thinking of diagrams here, Manisha? So listening section diagram type questions? I think that's what you're meaning. Send me an email on that, and then I'll schedule a class for that, and we'll look at a diagram portion of one of our listening exercises, okay? So I'll have a look. Or if you can send me an example, I'll check that out, all right? Any questions, Arcana, Mohammed, Nina, Baljit? I think you're in there still, by the look of things. Again, girls and guys, remember, do check us out on our websites, aehelp.com for academic IELTS, gieltshelp.com for general IELTS. No classes tomorrow or on Tuesday. You're very welcome, Mohammed. Arcana, reading multiple choice is still hard. Okay, just send me an email on that, Arcana, and then I'll schedule a class for multiple choice in the reading section for the sponsored chat, okay? Thank you, Nina. I really appreciate that positive feedback. That's very kind of you to say that. All right. Girls and guys, join the full course. Get lots of help. You can also, of course, sponsor our YouTube channel. We can give you access to our 6 full exams, audio, and all that good jazz. I hope everybody learned something useful from today's class on how to generate ideas, use logic, and control the part 2 cue card question and speaking. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, everyone. Make sure to practice. I look forward to getting some of your responses to that second cue card. And keep up the good studies, okay? You'll get there. You will learn to speak English fluently and be powerful with your communication. It's two different things. Okay, bye for now. Have a wonderful rest of your day.